Hey, Daily Dosers, Chris here. As you know, yesterday we kicked off a week of soulmate, sex, and singleness. What were we thinking? We were thinking, let's hit a week on the topics that most of us are thinking about and are so prevalent in our culture today. Today I'm going to hit marriage. It's okay. Tomorrow's going to be a hit on singleness. I'm going to go to a passage that doesn't get a lot of airplay. You see, Paul started a church plant in a city called Corinth, a major city in the Roman Empire, but it was a city that was super sexually saturated. In fact, in the first century, someone of incredible loose sexual morals was called a Corinthian, a Corinthomai, throughout the Roman Empire, just because that city was so sexually saturated with all kinds of behavior, ideas, and frivolity. And so now you got a new church, you got people that have surrendered all of their lives to God, and they've written back, the Apostle Paul, their pastor and church planner, saying, what do we do in the area of sexuality now that we're married or that we're single? In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, he starts by even admitting, I'm answering your questions. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. Now for the matters that you wrote about, he says, now let me respond to your questions. You live in this culture. How does sex, and what does that have to do with soulmates and singleness? He goes, for the matters that you wrote about, it's good for a person not to marry. But since there is so much immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duties to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. Singleness is tomorrow, but Paul goes, look, I wish everyone was single. You could do more for the kingdom, more for yourself. You don't have to check in with anyone. You can be all that you can be, and it only rests on you. However, because you're going to burn with passions, because the amount of immorality, it is good also to marry every man one wife, and every wife one husband, and make sure you fulfill your marital duties. What duties is he talking about? This is what's one of my favorite passages. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to her husband. In the exact same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his wife. So do not deprive each other except by mutual consent, and only for a short time, so that you may devote yourself to prayer. Then come back together again quickly, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Oh, I love this passage for so many reasons, not just the shallow ones that you may be thinking of or me right now. Well, here's what Paul's saying. Back to a message I gave a couple weeks ago about God created human intimacy to be the nuclear fusion that bonds two people together. Paul understands that so much, even as a single man, as a single pastor. He goes, look, there's a marital duty to keep that intimacy going, not just for the first 3 years of your marriage, or not just until you have kids, but whether you've been married 3, 30, or 60 years, there still needs to be that intimacy. Now, he said it's up to both couples by mutual consent to decide, what does that mean for you? However, what Paul is getting to, the core of keeping that fire going, is there is something about human intimacy that God created. And I'm not just talking about sexual. It's relational, it's social, it's spiritual, it's psychological. It's two beings becoming one flesh, one bios. And he says that entire act of sexuality, what you do with each other's body, is the constantly keeping those fires going, the fusion of a male-female relationship. And he goes, in fact, don't deprive each other. Don't let that leave your marriage. Otherwise, you're going to leave yourself as a sexual being married without any fulfillment, being wide open to temptation, and Satan's going to have incredible places to tempt you. This is what I've said before. It's amazing how our enemy works. Satan understands the power of sex. Before you get married, he tries to get you to do everything you can to have sex with partners. After you're married, it seems like he does everything he can to keep you from having sex with your partner. And we have succumbed to marriages where we're like, oh, I guess that's the way it's going to be. I guess that's just what we have to have. And if you've got an expectation, an intimacy in your marriage that's not being met, I encourage you, lean into those conversations. They can be awkward conversations. Early years of marriage, I would have those conversations with the lights off, laying in bed next to Amy because I know she was going to be staring at me and I didn't want to see it. And I go, well, I was hoping for, or could we try, or would you be open to? Oh, and they're awkward conversations. But if you found yourself in a place in marriage where you're like, maybe things are good, but we just don't have that intimacy. And again, that's up to two of you. Intimacy may just be cuddling, watching Netflix. Intimacy could be just holding hands, walking on the beach. There's all kinds of ways to keep that intimacy going. But Paul says, don't let your marriage grow without intimacy. Only by mutual consent, if you go for a time, we're going to give it up. He goes, but then come back together quickly. I just encourage all of you, as the door is opening right now, we're going to keep rolling. I encourage all of you right now, keep leaning into those tough conversations with your partner, and I encourage you, no means no, even in sex. This doesn't mean that body belongs to you, you can do what you want. No means no, even in the area of sex. Within marriage, there is mutual honor, respect, and love. We've gone over because the door opened by 15 seconds, but that's an extra 15 seconds for you today.
Thanks for joining us for this Daily Dose. We would love to be able to hear other topics you would like us to cover. Put them in the comments below, and remember, like and subscribe.